Hello, everybody. My name is Eileen Chant. I am currently the acting director of the Department of Energy's SBIR STTR programs office. I'm going to give you a quick overview of our programs. There are 11 agencies in the federal government that have SBIR programs. It has been an excess of $4 billion a year provided to small businesses to conduct research and development with the intent to take technology and commercialize it. We operate in the early stage part of the technology development spectrum. So the government operates in the high risk region of the innovation pipeline. And so we are looking for the best early stage ideas that are also compliant with the missions of the different agencies. The purpose of the program is to stimulate technological innovation and allow the small businesses to retain ownership in their intellectual property and their companies for their early stage ideas. Here are the statutory goals of the SBIR program, which include to stimulate technological innovation using small businesses, to meet federal research and development needs, to foster and encourage participation in innovation and entrepreneurship by women and socially or economically disadvantaged persons, and to also improve private sector commercialization of innovations derived from federal funding. The STTR program was founded 10 years after the SBIR program and is similar but different. It is to stimulate cooperative research and development carried out between small business concerns and research institutions. So it could be that the intellectual property or the invention resides with the research institution and the company is spinning out that technology and commercializing it. Or it could be that the small business owns the intellectual property and makes use of a research institution to develop their technology. These are the 11 agencies that have SBIR programs. The top 6 are the 6 largest agencies. They also have STTR programs. Again, these programs fund early stage, non-dilutive, meaning you get to keep your intellectual property and you get to keep ownership of your company, funding for small businesses that have innovative ideas with commercial potential. There's a lot of overlap between the agencies and what they fund. You should get to know each of these agencies. For example, the USDA is interested in decarbonization of agricultural technologies, and NSF does not have topics and funds anything that they consider to be a good early stage idea. So there's overlap in these agencies in what we fund. Okay, so now I'm going to just talk about DOE, SBIR, STTR programs. Historically, our budget has been about $300 million per year. We issue grants, not contracts. And that's important to know because some of the agencies issue contracts, which such as the Department of Defense, and the Department of Defense might have a bigger hand in development of your technology, and they also may very well want to be the customer for your technology once it's developed. DOE is unlikely to be your customer. We expect you to pivot to the private sector as you develop your technology. We issue focused topics that are aligned with the DOE mission. The DOE mission is threefold. We fund clean energy development. We also fund topics in the area of basic energy and engineering sciences, and we also fund topics in the area of nuclear security. We have 2 solicitations per year. Topics come out in July and they come out in November. You want to go to our funding opportunities page in those months and open the topics document and see which topics we are funding and see if there's something in there for you. A letter of intent is required about 6 weeks after the topics come out. That's part of the application process. And also importantly, we offer an application assistance program for all first-time applicants to our program. It opens when the topic documents are released, and you can get help and receive a coach who's an expert in our application process once you have selected a topic that you would like to apply to. You should understand the differences between SBIR and STTR. I've already talked about this a little bit, but there are different level of effort requirements to meet the compliance of the two programs. While SBIR allows a nonprofit research institution partner, you can see that SBIR requires a minimum of 2/3 of the R&D to be carried out by the small business, where 1/3 can be carried out by a contractor. That could be a research institution. STTR requires a nonprofit research institution. Again, that could be a national lab, it could be a university, and it requires that the small business do a minimum of 40% of the R&D. The research institution must do a minimum of 30% of the R&D. For SBIR, the principal investigator of the project must be an employee of the small business, majority employed by the small business. For STTR, the PI can either be an employee of the small business or the research institution. You would want to use our workbook to check compliance. Note that the award always goes to the small business. The subcontractors and the research institution are basically subcontractors and consultants to the small business. And they are two pots of funding. And if you do fulfill the requirements of both programs, you can submit your same application to both programs. This shows how the funding works for our program. You do have to apply for a phase 1 award as the entry point into our program. It's an early stage idea. It's a feasibility study, making your technology do something new, do something different, solving a new problem or a new application. The award amount maxes out at either $200,000 or $250,000, depending on the topic, and you conduct your feasibility study over a 6 to 12 month duration of that's your choice within that range. And we issue about 350 phase 1 awards per year. 9.5 months into your phase 1 project, you're going to want to submit your phase 2 application. That award is focused on prototyping your invention, demonstrating your technology, and pivoting and acting on your commercialization strategy. Those awards are carried out over a 2-year period typically, and the maximum award amount is $1.1 or $1.6 million. We offer second and third phase 2 awards, as you can see from this timeline, and you could potentially receive up to 7 or 8 years of funding in order to have that period of time and that funding to transition your technology to commercialization. Please be sure to pay attention and make sure you comply with the eligibility requirements. This is just a summary, but our notice of funding opportunity announcements have more detail in them. So to be an awardee, you must be a for-profit US-based business with 500 employees or fewer, and that includes the affiliates of your small business. More than 50% of your company's equity must be directly owned or controlled by US citizens or permanent residents of the United States. All R&D must be performed in the United States. And the PI's qualifications are a very important part of the application review process. Only one PI per project, and there are primary employment requirements for the PI, as I discussed on the prior slide. as I mentioned before, we have 2 releases a year. Release 1, the topics come out in July. Applications are due in October. These are the 6 offices that issue Release 1 topics. We refer to these as our deep science offices. These are the offices that are looking for instrumentation, atmospheric and environmental monitoring, and technologies that would lead to advancement in fusion energy and to better understand the study of high energy physics and nuclear physics. Release 2, the topics come out in November, the applications are due in February. We have our applied offices, which are in green. These are the offices that issue topics in the area of enhanced cybersecurity for our energy system, improvements in the nation's electrical grid, advancements in nuclear energy, advancements in fossil energy and management of carbon dioxide, and finally, energy efficiency and renewable energy. The other 2 offices are the offices tasked with nuclear nonproliferation and environmental management of nuclear weapons waste. Here's a slide that shows the many topics that we fund every year. So there's a lot more that DOE funds than you probably realize. So don't think you know what DOE funds until you've really gone to our funding opportunities page, opened our topics document, and taken a deep dive into that document. I have the schedule for fiscal year 2026 pulled up. It's pretty well laid out. When the topics come out for each release, when the application assistance program opens, when the topic webinars will occur where the program managers talk about what they're looking for. Then our funding opportunity announcement comes out. We have a funding opportunity webinar. There's the letter of intent due date and more, including the application due date. So this is a very important page that shows the timeline of the solicitation, including when you can be expected to be notified of our intent to award your application with a grant. We do, as I mentioned, we have mission-focused topics. Here's an example of a topic on industrial efficiency and decarbonization. You need to pay attention to the maximum award amount at the top of the topic. Don't ask for more money than that amount or your application will be declined without review. If you're interested in SBIR, make sure they're accepting SBIR applications and also make sure that they're accepting STTR applications if you're interested in submitting one of those. Make sure you very carefully read the topic. You are expected to be an expert in your technology area. So make sure you read the topic and read all the references as well that are cited in the topic. And then you have to pick a subtopic. It's a topic-subtopic pair that you are applying to. This subtopic is improving EV battery recycling efficiency. Again, read the subtopic very carefully, read your references very carefully, and also visit our market research studies page to see if there's a market research study in your technology area that can help you develop your commercialization plan. You should visit the program office for which you're going to be submitting your application, the program office that is funding that topic and subtopic area, and see what's going on in that office. What are the recent reports that office have issued? What's going on conference-wise with that office? And there is contact information as well. There is at the end, I want to go back to the slide because I want to mention that there are at the bottom, it's not shown here, but there is a topic manager at the end of every subtopic with an email address. You can reach out to that topic manager to ask them questions about what they're looking for in a particular topic once the topics are open. A few reminders: we have our application assistance program for first timers. You will receive a coach, someone to help you put together your first DOE, SBIR, STTR application. We have an application guide, very important, a lot of great resources in this, step-by-step instructions, some sample completed forms, some blank forms, some assistance in planning, putting together your application, and more. You can always email us with application questions. We urge you to follow us on LinkedIn and X, and very importantly, subscribe to our mailing list, because then you will receive emails that will notify you of funding opportunities. I also want to give a shout out to our SBIR partnering platform. You don't need to be an applicant or an awardee to become registered on this site. It's sort of I call it a dating site for innovators and partners. As an innovator, you can go online and you can meet subject matter experts, manufacturers, OEMs that might be interested in testing your technology, and investors, as well as a lot of more potential partners that will help fund your or assist you in developing your technology. Okay, so the number one basis for a competitive application is that you really must be responding to the topic and subtopic pair. You must really be addressing the need or solving the problem that's identified in the subtopic. In addition to that, your application must be research and development. It should be a novel idea, not something that's been done before. You must have a solid work plan. Remember, the phase one award is a feasibility study, so make sure your work plan links directly to your feasibility objectives, and make sure your PI and the rest of your team is composed of the right expertise. Remember that you can utilize contractors in order to round out your team, because there is an allowance for contractors to your award. And please be aware of what the impact of your technology, if your R&D is successful, what will be the impact of your technology if it's successful in the technology area. These three review criteria are equally weighted in the application process. If you become an awardee to our program, you become eligible for technical and business assistance. For phase one, you can receive up to $6,500 in support for our vendor, or you can make it a sub-award to your application, and that money can be utilized to develop your phase two commercialization plan, which is a fairly detailed 15-page commercialization plan. If you become a phase two awardee, you get $50,000 as a sub-award to your award to execute your phase two commercialization plan. We have a phase shift program. It used to be called Energy I-Core. It is an intensive customer discovery process for you all, very helpful during phase one to understand what your potential customers want you to deliver in terms of the features, the price, their pain points, and more. And you also can request high performance computing time on our NERSC scientific computing facility, if that can help you with your research and development work. So while we are a granting program for early stage R&D, please note that we have a fair number of resources along the way. We have applicant resources that are centered on helping you put together a strong application. And then we have awardee resources that help you with further your commercialization effort. And there are many other DOE programs that are out there. Not, there's more to entrepreneurship funding at DOE than just the SBIR program. This slide does have a number of links. You can click on them and learn more about these programs. And some of them are more on the early stage of your technology development journey, and some of them are going to be in the later stage of your technology development journey. And just a word or two about commercialization. It is a statutory goal of our programs. Congress wants to see return on investment of taxpayer dollars, and they want to see taxable revenue, job creation, and benefit to society. So it is very important to develop your commercialization strategy, and it is never too early to do that. And eventually you do have to wean yourself off of SBIR, STTR dollars. And so your business success really depends on your ability to plan for that time when the SBIR dollars are completed or expended. Here is a slide showing phase 1 commercialization plans. Make sure you understand all of these elements. Is there anyone that would need or would buy your solution? What are they using now, and what are the limitations of the current solution? What are they willing to pay? Do you know who all the stakeholders are? You really want to understand your target market and what the commercialization opportunity is. You should know what your competition is developing, and why what you're doing is better in a particular market segment. And you do want to consider that after a period of time, maybe your team is really strong technically now, but over time, you are going to want to have business expertise, whether or not those are consultants or employees within your company. You do need to have a plan to phase in that expertise. Consider your strategy for intellectual property and your future model for revenue generation, and where your funding might come from. It is never too early to start planning these elements of your commercialization strategy. So what are some initial steps you can take? You can attend events. You're listening to this now. That's a good first step. You can visit the SBIR.gov site to see what agencies are a fit with your technology. And you can start your SAM.gov registration. That's kind of a lengthy, time-consuming registration. Mark your calendar for July and November. And check out our past funding opportunity topics documents to get a feel for what it is that we have funded in the past. And also you may want to check out our online application guidance, which helps you get organized for preparing your first application. Okay, well, thank you for your time. Here's a few reminders. And also just a note about our phase 3 success stories, which have a wealth of case studies on successful startups and lots of good nuggets of information. Thank you for your time, and feel free to reach out to us with questions.